there's a YouTuber who just can't stop writing banger titles. It's actually insane. He makes some of the most innovative, amazing, interesting titles on the platform. And it's crazy. We're going to break it down in this video. Now, granted, not every single title he makes is amazing, but I will be breaking down some of the ones that I really like and why I think they're pretty good. So that creator is this guy, Ludwig, and I'm thinking maybe the reason he's so good at writing these titles is I think he majored in like English or something like that, so maybe that's why. But the first one I want to kind of talk about here is these two titles right here from 3 years ago, okay? 3 years ago, he reacts to these Cut videos, the channel called Cut, and you know, back in the day, maybe you'd say something like reacting to a button or something like that. That's what a guy called Cody Ko was doing. I think Cody Ko's a good example. A lot of the button videos he would make, he would just label it the button. He would name it in the title, which does a couple things. One is it restricts the audience to just the people who know the button, right? And meanwhile, Ludwig out here is doing something that's pretty revolutionary for 3 years ago. Again, like I was saying, people would go with a completely different titling direction. He doesn't even mention himself. He doesn't say anything like I watched or anything like that or reacting to. Nothing about this title thumbnail mentions Ludwig. Instead, he just picks a freeze frame that goes well with his title, and his titles are insane. And his titles are just insane. Guy on dating show rejects everyone he thinks is fat. First off, that's a banger. That is so interesting, right? And the context from the thumbnail with the blindfolds makes this way more interesting because he can't see. He rejects everyone he thinks is fat. And again, it's just so crazy innovative in my opinion, or it's just a big, fresh move. Writing a title like this 3 years ago is just, you know, very different. One could almost see it as like a risk. You're not mentioning yourself. Ludwig is pretty popular this time, yet nothing about this packaging would give off that it's him, you know? And that's because he's confident in his title writing skills. He just full set a title that's different than none of his other colleagues, his peers are doing. And I think it's so cool. Or this one right here, everything was going great until the blindfolds came off. Again, like when it comes to reaction content, let's just look at what people are like naming these, you know, like let's see over here on latest. Try not to laugh, bad tattoos, big city behavior is out of control. You have like the faces in the thumbnail, cringing at improv comedy. Everything is from, you know, the YouTuber's POV. Ludwig says, nah, fuck me. I'm not important. I'm going to write a banger, and that doesn't include me. I think that's really good. So this is the first format that I think is really interesting. And as you can see, it did well over here, down here as well. Or over here, girl on dating show is so picky she ends up alone. I mean, absolute banger, especially with that thumbnail combination, right? And the cool thing about that first format is once he found success, he's been reusing it for different types of content. I mean, over here, you would think that he would mention this guy. This guy's like a huge TikToker and YouTuber, but no, he keeps it broad. This guy's not Mr. Beast, so he's not getting name dropped in the title. And so we get, this TikToker thought he was better than me, so I proved him wrong. Right? This TikToker gives the context about who it is. You know, the thumbnail also helps with like, the thumbnail shows the headset, shows the dude, and then it gives the context about what the TikToker said. And then the title is, so I proved him wrong. You don't know what it is, you know, open loop to go click on the actual video. Granted, not the strongest in my opinion. That's why I only got 1.4 million views. This isn't that crazy of an idea, but you see it again over here. Trash talking YouTuber gets embarrassed. This format of like, screw you, the YouTuber, and instead I'm just going to write the best title possible, and sometimes that doesn't mention you. It doesn't mention the actual creator, and I really like that. It's almost selfless. By the way, I'm glazing so much right now, but nobody really goes hard on titles in my opinion. A lot of the time it's kind of easy if you just have a crazy video idea, versus Ludwig has a certain art to writing these titles in my opinion, and probably these are just off the dome. A lot of the time when I talk to people who do really smart things on YouTube, they just have a different way of perceiving the world, which leads to their innovative things they do on YouTube. There's this other guy I talked to named Dr. Plants, and dude, every time I talk to him, I want to shoot myself because he says he makes his thumbnails in like 10 minutes, which is crazy. Like this guy's hitting insane views, and he's making the thumbnails while the video's processing in the last few minutes before the upload. And so a lot of the time, these guys who are straight up geniuses, yeah, they view the world differently, which leads them to just off the dome making bangers because they're not limited by what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is doing the same thing. These guys view the world a bit differently, and so they go kind of a different angle. And if I had to describe Ludwig's title style, I would say like he tries to weave stories into his titles, right? I think any other YouTuber probably would have titled this video something like, I actually tested YouTube ads, or I actually bought YouTube, you know, ads or products or whatever, something like that. versus Ludwig is doing this longer title, which is a bit, maybe more of a risk, but it weaves the story. They wanted to sponsor me. I said no and reviewed their games anyway. So interesting. Like, it just adds a new level of good complexity, not bad complexity. It tickles your brain in a nice way. So honestly, I recommend scrolling through his videos and reading through his titles because not all of them are bangers, but there's some cool kind of directions he goes here with fresh titles that I think is really refreshing. Again, he's not pulling crazy views, but he definitely is innovating, and that is very rare on YouTube. Anyways, that crazy ramble. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.